Hi guys, we're live. I am sitting here in my kitchen. There's our sunroom. There's our living room. Actually, here's the kitchen. And I thought I would read you chapter 1 from Murder and an Irish Curse. So today is August 19th, 2022. And this book releases on September 6th. It is the fourth full-length book in the Book Magic series. There's also the novella, The Secret on Rum Runner's Lane. And then there's the upcoming novella, In the Shadow of the Loblolly Pine, which is coming out through a promotion on October 31st. So I think it's October 31st. And that will be available through this promotion for 1 year, and then it'll be for sale after that. But during the promotion, it'll be free. And that's from Hattie's point of view. So if you've been reading the series and you have an affinity for Hattie Juniper Pickle, then you might like In the Shadow of the Loblolly Tree. Anyway, it is almost fall, not quite, but I'm manifesting. Still kind of warm. And that's it. I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and read. I had to print them out. It's a cool cover, which I will put on here for you to see, but I don't have the books yet. So I had to print this out so that I could read it to you. But I really wanted to share the first chapter of Murder and an Irish Curse because I just love this series so much, and I love this book so much. It came together so great. And if you've been following along with the series, then I think you will think so too. So here we go. Chapter 1. Present day. Pippin Lane Hawthorne read books, but not in the manner others did. Most people started at the beginning and read through to the end. They read the stories of fictional people leading their fictional lives. Pippin did that too. Most people absorbed the setting and the characters and the plot. Those things didn't matter to Pippin. Her relationship with books went much deeper. They communicated to her. The words, the lines, the passages all conveyed meaning separate from the story itself. It was as if she were taking in the soul of the book. The pages communicated something far more abstract, less tangible in terms of comprehension. What the words actually said and what they told her were two entirely different things. Pippin's twin brother, older by just 73 seconds, had planted the seed in her that how she interpreted the words a book showed her was based on her own schema, her own experiences and lack thereof. Her understanding was 100% subjective. She construed the meaning of the words. She could never know with complete certainty that any of the insight she gleaned was actually correct. Such was the life of a bibliomancer. There were so many things about her divination she didn't know. In any given situation, would any book communicate something, or did it have to be a specific book? When it had come to solving her father's murder, a resurfaced memory had led her to the Odyssey. When she needed to gain a deeper understanding of the 2,000-year-old curse that had been laying at the feet of the Lane family, she turned to The Secret Garden, which had been her mother's favorite book. In other instances, the books that had helped her felt purely coincidental. Treasure Island, The Tale of Two Cities, Captain Blood. She had no familial connection to any of these titles, that she knew of anyway, but they had given her direction nonetheless. She knew what she and Gray and Lily had to do. They needed to find whatever Titus stole from Dagda and return it to him. It sounded so easy, but now she'd come to believe it was actually impossible. And that impossibility made Pippin's resolve ebb and flow. At times, she was bound and determined to finish what her father had started. Leo had unwittingly left clues about the research he'd done, the discoveries he'd made. The cousins wanted nothing more than to break the curse once and for all, but they'd tried. Leo had tried. Cassie had tried. Presumably, most, if not all, the members of the Lane family had tried to break the curse, to no avail. These facts were another thing that made her resolve falter. Right now, this moment was one of resignation. She'd done everything she could. She'd done everything she could think of to break the curse on her family. The men were swallowed by the sea. The women died in childbirth. Nothing she had done had stopped anything. Of course, she wasn't sure she'd actually know unless they tested the curse, putting themselves in danger, sending Gray out to sea, or one of them getting pregnant. But still, none of them would willingly sacrifice themselves to see if the curse was going strong. They had no reason to believe anything had changed, which left Pippin feeling dejected and lost. She didn't know what else to do. The inn was running smoothly. She'd taken only a few guests leading up to the holidays, and at the moment, the last three were tucked into their rooms for the night. Hazel Hood, a traveling innkeeper who had been like Mary Poppins, appearing just when Pippin needed her most, had dived headlong into a whirlwind relationship with a curmudgeonly Dr. James Wilkinson. She hadn't intended to stay on Devil's Cove indefinitely, but the good doctor had changed her plans. Hazel had moved from the little room just off the kitchen at the inn to a small apartment above the doc's practice. She worked 5 days a week at the inn, had helped Pippin get procedures in place, and now, more than 6 months later, the inn ran like a well-oiled machine. At this point, Pippin didn't think she could manage without Hazel. Breakfast for the next morning was prepped. Everything was locked up tight. Breakfast for the next morning was prepped. Everything was locked up tightly, and Pippin and Sailor, her honey-colored Vizsla, had walked on the beach. Well, Pippin had walked while Sailor had chased the gulls. Now, with Sailor by her side, Pippin retreated to her bedroom. It had been Leo's study when she was little. She had taken it over to free up more rooms for guests. She walked straight to the built-in bookshelf and found the hidden lever. She pressed it, and a section opened with a quiet click. "Let's go," she said. Sailor couldn't hear her, but Pippin spoke anyway, patting the side of her leg as a visual cue. Sailor's tail whipped back and forth. She followed Pippin into the secret passageway, waiting by her side while Pippin closed the door, trotting up the stairs after her. The stairs led to a small room, her father's secret hideaway. This was where he'd kept his research and the books most meaningful to him, clues about the curse and how to break it. If she had any hope of success, she felt sure it was through everything her father had left behind. Sailor went straight to her bed, turned around until she positioned herself just so, and settled into sleep. Pippin was far from ready for bed. She started for the bookshelves that lined part of the back wall, but stopped short when she spotted a book on the floor. She looked around as if someone had put it there and was now hiding, but of course that was impossible. The small study had a desk, 2 chairs, the built-in shelves, and a little occasional table. There was no place to hide. The book, though, hadn't been there the last time she was up here. On the cover was the profile of a rabbit, the sky in the distance streaked brown, gold, and amber. Watership Down by Richard Adams. Pippin vaguely remembered a cartoon movie version of the story, but if she'd seen it as a child, she didn't remember. She crouched to pick it up, the question of how it had ended up on the floor circling in her mind. Books didn't magically just fly off the shelves. She turned the well-worn paperback over in her hands. There had to be a reason it was just laying there for her to find. She could figure out how it got there later, if there was even an explanation. For now, though, she went with her gut, which told her it was important. She sat at the desk and placed the spine on the blotter. "What do you have to tell me?" she said quietly, as if the book itself had ears and could hear and respond to her question. She didn't know how her bibliomancy worked. She just knew that it did. She let go of the front and back covers, letting them fall open. Pages fluttered briefly, and then they settled instantly. The words of a single paragraph darkened, undulated, lifted, and seemed to hover just above the page. She blinked as if her eyes were playing tricks on her, but no, the words were still there, waiting for her to read them. "Bigwig was right when he said he wasn't like a rabbit at all," said Holly. "He was a fighting animal, fierce as a rat or a dog. He fought because he actually felt safer fighting than running. He was brave, all right, but it wasn't natural, and that's why it was bound to finish him in the end. He was trying to do something that Frith never meant any rabbit to do. I believe he'd have hunted like the Iliel if he could." Pippin reread the passage over, and then again. Gray, in a moment of skepticism, had told her that any message was impossible to interpret because she was the one who assigned meaning to it, and that meaning came from her experiences and her knowledge. He was right, but at the same time, he was wrong. She and whoever was with her when she used her divination did interpret the messages from the book, but sometimes they were perfectly clear and didn't need analysis or reading between the lines, like now. She was like this character, Bigwig. She was an animal fighting for the safety of her family. She fought because it was safer than not fighting, safer than running, because Cassie had already proved that running didn't work. Pippin's mother had left Cape Misery on the Oregon coast, ending up on the outer banks of North Carolina. She traded one ocean for another, but she hadn't been able to hide from the curse. It had still taken her. And of course, there were all the Lanes who had come before. Artemis, who they thought had changed his name from O'Delaney to Lane on the passage over from Ireland. The curse had taken his wife, Pippin's great-great-grandmother, Siobhan, during the crossing. The Pacific Ocean had taken Artemis. The fact of the matter was, the curse could not be outrun. She went back to the lines from the book. Like Bigwig's character, Pippin was brave. And as Holly said about Bigwig in the paragraph, Pippin's battle also wasn't natural. She was at war with the Tuatha De Danann. They were Ireland's race of mythological deities, only they were real. They were real, and because of them, the entire Lane family was forever doomed. God, her head ached. On her bed, Sailor stretched and made a mewling sound. She envied the dog. Sailor had nothing to worry about. She was fed, walked, played with, and loved. It was an easy existence, or at least it was now. When the dog had been on her own, scrounging for food and trying just to survive, life hadn't been so carefree. And Pippin had Gray, Daisy, and Ruby, Hattie Juniper Pickle, Cyrus McAdams, and Jamie. She had a community of people around her now. Even with that support, would the battle to break the curse finish her as Bigwig's unnatural fight was bound to finish him? I guess that remains to be seen, Pippin muttered. Eventually, she drifted off to sleep. And that's chapter 1 of Murder and an Irish Curse. Murder and an Irish Curse. Murder and an Irish Curse. I hope that you will pre-order this book. You can find it on my website. And I hope that if you are reading the series and you've started from the beginning, that you find this installment, the 4th full-length book in the Book Magic series, just as great as the rest. And I hope the ending surprises you. I think it will. So I will be back with another chapter 1. So stay tuned and happy reading.